Kia ora and welcome to Sector Report with a close-up look at wind farms. We investigate the sometimes heated arguments for and against from farmers and hear from an international renewable energy expert on wind farms and a multitude of other options becoming available to satisfy our never-ending thirst for new electricity sources. Now join us as we head to the Manawatu Hills east of Palmerston North.
Some of the large three-bladed ones are causing some grief to some of the people who live very close to them. They're claiming things that are about their animals being affected, production of milk being affected, vibration in their houses.
I like to open my window in the morning, pull the curtains and look at those turbines and say, oh well, which way's the wind going for a starter?
And the noise doesn't bother you?
No, it doesn't.
Talk to a Manawatu farmer and you'll find there's an opinion one way or the other on the wind turbines dotted over the hills. If you venture into the hill country on either side of the Manawatu Gorge, the beginnings of the Tararua and Ruahine ranges, this is what you're likely to hear: the hum of 2 or 3-bladed giant propellers mounted atop towering pylons. Little wonder they're there. You're guaranteed a good blow almost every day of the year up here. The wind farms are generally popular with the people of the Manawatu, despite the views of those against because of what's seen as visual pollution along the hilltops and because of the noise the giant blades make. They're there as a contribution to the fight against global warming because they're a renewable energy source at a time when New Zealand joins the fight against global warming. Massey University Professor of Sustainable Energy Ralph Sims has just served 4 years with the International Energy Agency in Paris and on top of that works for the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. He finds many farmers are in denial about global warming.
I've been surprised just how negative people are in New Zealand around climate change, global warming, whatever you like to call it. Particularly the farming community. Federated Farmers has been a strong spokesperson for many of their members. I don't think the majority of farmers are members of Federated Farmers, but the science is just so strong and it will impact on agriculture in New Zealand. The climate will impact for a whole range of reasons. We can't predict exactly how. Drier summers and disease moving south. Paspalum's already in the pastures of the Waikato, which wasn't there a decade or 2 ago. And this is possibly part of the warming effect, whereas it used to be up in Northland. So apart from that, if New Zealand is seen to ignore climate change and do nothing about it, then our trade might be affected because countries will, and supermarkets in the UK and transport companies, supply chain people will say, we won't buy food from New Zealand because they're not doing anything for their climate change to reduce their greenhouse gases. We'll go and buy it from elsewhere. And there is a worry about that, and I think government's got it right, that we need an emissions trading scheme to at least show we're trying to do something.
Ashley Kells farms right next to a proposed wind farm site, and his attitude is probably fairly typical of locals opposed to the turbines.
I'm still very sceptical about how long the turbines will even be in play if they're put up because of the economics of wind turbine generation. And it's a very fuzzy sort of area as to what's going to happen after the first 12 or 24 years. In the studies that have been done for the Lake Hayes project, the engineer showed that the cost of producing power, kilowatt hour of power by the three-bladed turbines was of the order of 18 or 19 cents a kilowatt hour. And to do it with coal or gas, it's around 4 to 6. So, I mean, why would you go there?
Trouble is, you're talking fossil fuels here, and they're fashion.
They are, but that's a different debate, isn't it? It's not the noise, it's not the turbines, it's to do with another spurious idea about global warming.
Joseph Poff farms nearby, but he's on the other side of the wind farm argument.
Well, I think wind farms are a part of the future, whether you like it or not. It's the issue. The big issues there are the climate change, which is argued whether it's no, there's no argument whether it's happening or not. The argument is why. And I read Gareth Morgan's book, who I have a lot of faith in, and his summation was that the overwhelming evidence supports anthropogenic cause. So that's one issue. The other is sustainability generally. I don't believe we are living sustainably, and utilisation of renewable energy in this way has to be supported.
With his international involvement in the sustainable energy business, Ralph Sims is well placed to see the merits of wind energy and a whole range of alternative energy sources.
On a global basis, it's one of the most growing, or the fastest growing energy supply systems in the world. And China, for example, is in to a large extent. Denmark, Germany has been there for a long, long time. And the United States, in some states in particular, Texas and others, have got some, and Spain, got some really significant wind farm capacities in place. They've all got subsidies of one form or another to assist them. But New Zealand's somewhat different because we've got this wonderful wind resource. If you live in Palmerston North or Wellington or elsewhere, you know that it can get pretty windy. So a wind turbine that's installed here would produce about 3 times the amount of electricity per year than the same wind turbine if it was installed in Denmark or Germany. And so technically it's a good system. It doesn't produce greenhouse gases, it's efficient. It doesn't produce electricity when the wind's not blowing, so it has to be integrated into the overall electricity system, and up to 20 or 30% penetration is possible, of wind penetration is technically possible if the market's suitable and if the grid is flexible enough to do that. But in New Zealand we've certainly got some excellent sites, but there is an impact, and the impact is environmental. Some people love wind turbines, some people hate them. If you're a farmer with a block of land that's got a windy resource, then it's a new form of revenue generation, and great, thank you very much, we'll use that. And neighbours who are close enough to be in visual line of these machines maybe aren't quite as happy with it. But what we've found, just talking informally to groups around Palmerston North, most people like the concept of the wind farms. We even named our rugby team the Manawatu Turbos after the wind turbines. And so there is local support.
Of course, for farmers with the turbines on their land, wind energy can be a windfall as energy companies pay them to use their land. As Joseph Poff points out, it can make a huge financial difference for some struggling sheep and beef farmers, although he probably won't be among the lucky ones.
No, but I've never honestly been there for the money. I've never bothered to calculate how much money the project's worth. Obviously the money comes in handy. I mean, I work hard to bring money into that farm, to develop it, improve it. It would be great to have a passive income generated off that same land without any cost to the farmer. It is a great opportunity, and it's a shame to see other neighbours of mine who've lost all turbines, who've been there for generations, deprived of that opportunity to, get a bit of a break, because farming is hard work. Everybody knows that,
But if we look at these turbines up here behind us on farmland, what can a farmer make from a turbine in any one year, roughly?
Between 15 and 20,000. It varies according to the size of the turbines. It turns a marginal farm into a very viable farm. Yeah, some of these farms behind us, I believe the farmers have retired almost, and leased out the farm.